Ballroom Network presents two fired-up Bears fans. They are ready to rumble on the Bear Debate.
You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon Podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and the man with the plan, Adam Schaum. We're bringing you the fantasy football knowledge that you need every single week.
Derrick Henry still going. Stays in bounds. He might go. 99 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable.
Flushed out again all the way back. Turning the corner. Fires downfield. Caught. Touchdown. Only Mahomes turns what might have been a 15-yard sack into a 27-yard touchdown.
Saquon Barkley across midfield, down the sideline, staying in bounds, and Barkley takes it all the way. 68 yards for his first NFL touchdown. McCaffrey right up the middle, and he is gone for the touchdown. 58 yards. Pass is to Thomas. He's gone. Touchdown Saints.
Okay, it's time for the easiest part of any coach's job, the cut. Now, while I wasn't able to cut everyone I wanted to, I have cut a lot of you. Steven, I like your hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut you. Congratulations, the rest of you made the team. Except you, and you.
God bless fantasy football. There are many things a man can do with his time. And this, better than those things.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy Football Goon. I am your host, Joe Mandel, and I'm joined by my co-host, Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. Adam, how you doing today, brother? Adam, you're on mute, my friend.
Sorry about that. Good morning, Joe.
I'm doing good, great, man. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. Ready for another exciting day of fantasy football.
Yeah, that's right. Kickoff not too far away. Week 3 matchups in high gear. And we already have a major injury on our hands. Thursday Night Football, Adam. Christian McCaffrey goes down with a leg injury pretty much after, it felt like immediately in that game, and he never returned. the most frightening thing about that is he was ruled out from the get-go. Like, he was ruled out within minutes. So that tells you it's not a good injury. His leg popped. It looked like it could have been, I think they said it was a hamstring. I don't remember exactly what they said. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're calling it a hamstring, which, this is so disappointing to fantasy owners everywhere. That after dealing with what everybody went through last year with McCaffrey on their team, having this happen in week 3 already, they're saying it's I guess like a grade 1 hamstring. I think is what they're saying. So it's 2 to 3 weeks. They're hoping it is the best case scenario. But, we thought that a couple of times last year with that ankle going on. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, but it's really rough for fantasy owners. It's going to be the next man up on that team, which looks like the rookie Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, and he got some wear and tear in this game. They had to run the ball towards the end to run out the clock a little bit, but Sam Darnold looked vintage Sam Darnold. He looked way better than his Jets days, 3-0 as a Carolina Panther. And it looks like Hubbard's going to have some value here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So he's a guy you got to go grab on your waivers if he's not owned. But if you were a smart owner and you listened to us, you already had him on your bench. But he's going to be a hot commodity, I would imagine.
Yeah, if you don't have him already on your bench or he's on your waiver wire, he's the number 1 target going into this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely keep an eye on him. Get your claims in now. But another thing I wanted to touch on before we get diving into our starts and sits, and we do see your questions here in the chat. So make sure, guys, that you ask us all these questions. We're going to get to them in just a minute. But we got to talk a little bit about Tyreek Hill, Adam, because he got absolutely shut down last week. 3 catches on 4 targets for 14 yards and 1 rush for 15 yards. Fantasy owners getting 5-ish points out of Tyreek Hill is a bit of a disappointment, I would say. Is this something that we should be concerned about? Or was it just the fact that the Ravens were concentrating on shutting down Tyreek? What do you think?
I wouldn't be concerned about it at all. We see this pretty much every season with Tyreek Hill. There's going to be 2 to 3 games where he gets you 5 points or less because, like you just said, a defense will really key in on him and say, we're not going to let him beat us down the field for 50-yard touchdowns. And look what happens in those games. Kelsey gets tons of targets. They just use all those other weapons they have other than CEH. So you can't be concerned about Tyreek Hill's very likely to bounce back with a monster game today. He might have lost you last week, but he can win you this week.
Yeah, he's a guy that's just too electric to sit any single week.
No doubt.
Another thing that kind of grabbed a lot of headlines last week, and a guy not getting as much attention as he should for his performance last week was Dak Prescott. He had a bit of a rough day at the office, to say the least. And some people are saying, "Oh, Dak, look, this is the real Dak." Let's be honest, Adam. We were just talking before the show went live. The Los Angeles Chargers defense is absolutely elite. Should Dak owners be concerned by this performance, or do you think Dak's going to be okay moving forward?
I think Dak's going to be fine. I love Dak Prescott this season. Nothing that happened last week changed my mind. I know you and I both expected last week that game versus the Chargers to be a high-scoring affair, and really both of those offenses let fantasy managers down everywhere, and pretty much all the players did. So, it was just one of those games. Dak's going to bounce back this week, and the Cowboys offense is going to get back on track against Philadelphia, and what I expect again to be another high-scoring game on Monday night.
Yeah, man, I think so too, and that could easily be the game of the week. So, lots of points to be thrown around. So, don't worry about that. I'm not worried about it, and we're going to go into our starts and sits of the week here momentarily. But we are getting some questions, popping in, so we might as well just take a few of them here. 2017 champ says, cheers to the fantasy football wizards at Fantasy Football Goon. Need some help deciding who to start at flex, Jamar Chase, Javonte Williams, or Julio Jones. That's a good problem to have. There's some quality options there. So first off, props on your drafting. man, I just have a hard time believing that Julio can stay down. I mean, he had a good game last week. He's a talented guy. Tannehill's going to bounce back. I have a hard time benching Julio out of these three guys. Adam, where do you fall?
This one's Julio Jones for me as well. I think the Bengals could actually have a little bit of a rough day today against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon are splitting time evenly back there. I'm kind of holding on Javonte for second half of the season. Julio Jones would be my pick. He had a really big game last week and should have even been bigger. He had a touchdown called back, if I remember. So yeah, this is Julio Jones for me.
I'm with you. And then our loyal listener, Connor, Trey Sermon, Rondell Moore, Mooney, Devontae Smith, Mike Davis, pick 2 for a flex. Wow. There's some quality options there. Well, first off, I think you definitely got to go with Rondell Moore. This is a guy that's seen a lot of targets in that Arizona offense. He's actually one of my starts of the week. Spoiler alert for when we get there. The Jacksonville defense is horrible. Well, Jacksonville in general is horrible. So I look for him to continue getting those targets. DeAndre Hopkins, a little banged up, going to draw some attention. Christian Kirk, the deep threat, look for Moore to have another day. And then for me personally, it's between Smith and Mooney. I have Mooney as one of my sleepers today, but I think Devontae Smith against that Cowboys secondary is just going to go absolutely bonkers. So for me, it's Moore and Smith. Adam, what do you got?
Moore would definitely be one of the two for me as well. Like you said, he's going to see a ton of targets. He actually is leading the Cardinals in targets right now. You would expect that's DeAndre Hopkins, but it's not. It's actually Rondell Moore, and they're going to make sure they get him the ball. Hopkins is banged up. So, yeah, I expect his role to be completely – he's going to have the very safe floor, I think, and he would definitely be one of them. And, yeah, these are all really good choices. So, I really, like I said, I like the Cowboys-Philadelphia game as well. But I would probably take Smith. Mooney is an option, but, I kind of want to see that happen. I want to see him and Fields' chemistry. They've only really had 1 week working together. So I would go with Smith because we know the history with Hurts. They had a little down game last week. I look forward to bounce back. So I agree with your two choices as well.
Thanks, Adam. And we do have some breaking news that just came in. Carson Wentz and DeAndre Hopkins both active today. So those guys are going to be playing. You're probably not starting Wentz in fantasy, but if you have DeAndre Hopkins, do not hesitate. He is going to play. Is banged up, but DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins, so you can't bench him. He's just he's that good. So he's going to play today. We'll keep you up to date on whatever inactives come out, but that's some breaking news for you. We'll take one more question, and then we're going to dive into our starts and sits. So let's get back to the chat and see what we got here. And if we didn't get to you yet, we will in a little bit. Nate Moore has a question for us. Mooney or Mike Davis as a flex PPR, Fields or Tannehill for quarterback? Adam, I'll let you take this one.
Well, for the flex PPR, I'm going to take Mooney in this one. Like we just said, I'm a little hesitant. I kind of want to see it, but at the same time with the Mike Davis thing, I'm very unsure of that Mike Davis role right now. We saw Cordero Patterson get extremely involved last week and scoring touchdowns. So I'm kind of hesitant to play Mike Davis at all. So I would take Mooney on that side. And I'm looking for Tannehill to bounce back today with a pretty big game. And in relation to what we just talked about with Julio, I think that Tennessee offense is going to continue to improve. People are really down on Ryan Tannehill. And I mean, this guy's been a top 10 quarterback the last 2 seasons. So I'm going to keep sticking him out there, and I'm going to wait and see how Fields does before he starts in my lineup.
Yeah, I'm completely aligned with that. I'm with you there, and I think those are good choices for sure. We got some more breaking news with inactives, Adam. T. Higgins inactive today, officially, as is Marlon Mack. But, obviously Marlon Mack's probably not starting on your team. But T. Higgins, being out means good things for some of the other receivers. What does T. Higgins being inactive do for the fantasy value of some of those other receivers around him, Adam?
Well, that definitely could give Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd some more targets. That they already get quite a few, but that could up the target share. But I am a little concerned against the Steelers defense today. with Burrow. Burrow's played well, but Mike Tomlin knows how to get after young guys back in the pocket that can't move. TJ Watt's going to be coming at them. I kind of think the Bengals receivers could struggle today, and with Higgins out, it might increase some targets, but I don't know how much more production it gives them really.
Yep, and then also Deontay Johnson inactive today for the Steelers in the same game, so that's another thing to keep an eye on. Chase Claypool's value goes up a bit higher for this game.
Yes.
And, I look for Claypool to have a big day today. I kind of like that matchup against Cincinnati.
I agree. I think Claypool has a good chance to have one of those big games today with Deontay Johnson out, have his first big one of the season.
No doubt about it, man. But why don't we get into our starts and sits of the week? We'll start with our picks at quarterback. My starts of the week at QB, let's see what we got here. I'm going to go with Daniel Jones against the Atlanta Falcons. This is a guy available in majority of leagues, and he could easily blow up against the Falcons. They are averaging about 28 fantasy points against opposing quarterbacks. Daniel Jones could easily eclipse that, especially with the way that offense has been. So I love him. Matthew Stafford going against the Buccaneers. I mean, the Buccaneers secondary can't stop anybody. It's their pass rush. That's the problem. Stafford can release the ball quickly out of his hands. Look for Stafford to have a big day. And then I'm going to go Teddy Bridgewater against the New York Jets. Teddy's looked pretty good. Him and Cortland Sutton were really doing well last week. It's another guy I love this week. The Jets secondary, not good. I expect this to be a huge day for Teddy Bridgewater. So if you don't own him in regular fantasy and daily fantasy, he's a great play as well. So don't hesitate to give Teddy Bridgewater a play today. I think it's a pretty safe bet. And, I would start him, over, I don't know, let's see. I'd start him over like a Justin Fields this week because of the matchup. Not that I hate on Justin Fields at all as a Bear fan, but I just think it's a better play. So that's my starts of the week at quarterback. Adam, let's talk about your starts of the week. So let's take a look.
All right, Joe. I love those picks you had there. I really love Teddy Bridgewater. He was one of my sleepers last week, and he came through once again. He has looked so good in this Denver offense. I don't see Drew Lock ever having a chance to get this job back outside of injury. That was a great relationship with Cortland Sutton last week. But for my starts, I love the Matthew Stafford call. Like you said, to me, he is probably the start of the week for me. The Tampa Bay defense has not been able to stop the pass, and I expect Matthew Stafford to throw for a ton of yardage in that game.
Absolutely.
And then I already spoke about Ryan Tannehill a minute ago versus Indianapolis. I think Tennessee just keeps improving. Tannehill's going to start distributing the ball to A.J. Brown more. A.J. Brown had a really bad game last week, but that's not the player he is. I wouldn't be down on him either. That's going to come together. Tennessee's going to produce. Ryan Tannehill is going to be a stud once again. And Dak Prescott's going to bounce back in this shootout versus Philly on Monday night. Last week, like we said, both teams underperformed. Both offenses underperformed in that game. Dak's going to utilize CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper's going to have, we saw his bad game last week. We know how that goes. He's going to have another big game now. So the whole offense gets back on track, and so does Dak Prescott. And he's going to be a top 3 quarterback this week.
I love it, man. I love the confidence. I feel good about it. And I feel better because I lost a game because of Dak last week. Hopefully he can win me one this week. But let's dive into our running back starts of the week. I'm going to go with mine. I like Chris Carson against Minnesota. Their defense has not been great by any means. Every single game feels like it's a shootout with the Vikings. So Chris Carson being the workhorse he is, I think he's going to get a lot of goal line carries. I mean, obviously the pass offense is going to be the star for Seattle, but I look for Chris Carson, to have at least one score and close to, 90 to 100 yards. So that's a good day in the fantasy office. I feel good about that. DeAndre Swift against Baltimore. Swift leads target share for running backs out of the backfield in the NFL right now, which is absolutely crazy to me. So, getting him the ball against this Ravens team that has not been very good at really stopping anybody. I mean, their run defense has been a little bit better than their pass, but Swift is an elite player at his position. I expect him to be a top 10 running back by the end of the season. Look for him to have a big day against Baltimore. I feel really good about that. And then Miles Sanders. I'm going to take Miles Sanders against the Cowboys. You know, Miles is one of those boomer bust players, and he's always matchup based, you know, his performance. And for me, you know, Dallas is arguably the worst defense in the NFL. Statistically, it's pretty close. So I think Miles Sanders is going to be a focal point of a way for them to win this game. So I think you're going to see a lot of volume to Miles Sanders in this game. And both him and Jalen Hurts are going to go for 100 yards rushing. I feel confident about that. Like Adam and I said, it's going to be a shootout on Monday night. It's going to be a fun one.
I agree. I like those picks, Joe. For my running backs of the week, I've got a couple of big names, which you shouldn't really have to say are starts of the week, but fantasy managers have been so disappointed through the first 2 weeks with Zeke and Saquon Barkley. You know, I think we saw Saquon. The Giants played on the Thursday night game, so it was a short week for them. And Saquon's snap percentage went from the 50s to the high 80s, even on a short week. We saw him break out a 41-yard run where he looked fantastic on it. Now they've had a long week to get ready for this game, 10 days to prepare. I think this is the week Saquon starts to look like the normal Saquon and gets his first touchdown of the season. And I think the Giants offense moves pretty well in this game. Then Ezekiel Elliott, you know, everybody's been disappointed. Tony Pollard's eating up a lot of work there, and Tony Pollard's going to have a role going forward. But this is the week Zeke also gets on the board with some touchdowns, and the whole Cowboys offense gets back on track. Like I said, Dak performs. That means the running game is going to perform. So those guys are fired up with confidence this week, and I think they're going to get fantasy managers back confident putting them in their lineups going forward. And then the waiver wire pickup in the early season here for Baltimore, Tyson Williams. I think this is his week right here versus the awful Detroit defense. You know, he has looked really well so far and impressed in both the running game and the passing game. I still think Latavius Murray's gonna cut into the goal line area work a lot from him, and
oh yeah,
Latavius could get a touchdown almost every single game, honestly. But Tyson Williams is going to get the bulk of the work, I think, and he's impressed so far. If he gets the passing game work, he could have a really nice day versus Detroit. So I would definitely have him in my lineup as a flex or a low-end RB2.
Yeah, I love him this week too. That offense is great on Baltimore. That their worry is on defense. And
Right.
My biggest worry about the Ravens is Lamar Jackson, you know, barreling his throwing shoulder into guys for an extra 2 yards. You know, that's going to catch up with him at some point. I mean, I love what he's doing on the field. Don't get me wrong. It makes me worried for his ability to stay healthy all year long. So if I was a Lamar Jackson owner, I would make sure that I have a quality backup because Lamar is, you know, he's all in, and I love the grittiness, but it's scary to watch if you're a Ravens fan.
It sure is. You watch him every week. You love having him on your team, but you hold your breath every play of the game, man, because he doesn't back down. He's not like the Russell Wilson type where he just safely runs out of bounds when he gets to the sideline.
Yeah, and that's what you love about him. That's why he's great TV. But you know, hopefully he can stay healthy. You know, fingers crossed for him. But Adam, why don't you talk about your wide receiver starts of the week?
All right, Joe. I love Deebo Samuel again this week. He's been great for the 49ers, obviously, through the first couple of weeks, getting just tons of targets. He's had, you know, Shanahan manufactures these trick type of plays, these screens, these reverses, these shovel passes, and he's one of the best after the catch as well. When he runs these slant routes, he's a great route runner. So I'm firing up Deebo Samuel again versus Green Bay this week. I also love Sterling Shepard going this week. We expect that to be a shootout in that game. Sterling Shepard has been a target monster thus far this season, and I expect to keep that going. I also love both of the Rams receivers this week. We know Cooper Kupp's been the number one receiver in fantasy thus far, but today's the day. Robert Woods has the big breakout game, I expect.
Yeah.
Kupp's still going to get his and have a great game, I expect, but we said Stafford's going to throw for a ton of yards. I think Woods is going to get a ton of targets in this game, and it's going to be a fun game to watch, and those guys are going to put up some serious fantasy points.
I fully agree with you, man. If you look at my wide receiver starts, I do have Robert Woods specifically because, he's been getting a little bit of hate. I mean, he's not been horrible. He's just been behind Cooper Kupp. And I think
Right.
this is the weeks. I think this week, a lot of teams are going to start to realize, like, hey, we should probably cover Cooper Kupp. And then they're going to be like, oh, wait a second. There's another monster on the other side in Robert Woods. So look for Robert Woods. I agree to have a big day today. We talked about him earlier. I'm going to go Rondale Moore against the Jaguars. As we talked about, DeAndre Hopkins is active in this game, but Moore leads that team in targets. And let's be honest, he's been so explosive. You're going to have to give him more. So I love Moore. No pun intended. You have to give him more. Jeez, I'm writing the puns for myself as we go. But Jacksonville's been bad. I look for that to be a blowout. I think he's going to have a huge first half. So I like Rondale Moore today. And then we talked a little bit about the Broncos earlier. Cortland Sutton against the Jets today, I absolutely love. Sutton's a number one guy. Looks like he's fully healthy coming back from the injury in his knee. I like him to, continue on this trend. Earlier before the season started, I said he was a top 25 wide receiver. I stand by that if he continues, to stay healthy. So Cortland Sutton, a guy that I think you have to throw in as your, wide receiver 3 or a flex this week. And I think it's going to handsomely reward you. So is like the TikTok trend says right now, it's like a reward. So man, I'm really pulling these out of my pocket right now. But those are my wide receiver starts of the week. But let's before we get to our tight end starts, Adam, let's get back to some chat questions here.
Let's do it.
Let's see where we left off. We left off with Connor, LaVisca Chenault, Darnell Mooney, KJ Hamler, Tyler Boyd, and Javonte Williams. Pick 2 for flex. I haven't seen it yet out of LaVisca. In the offseason, I was really high on LaVisca Chenault. I just have not seen it yet. So I cannot confidently start him. We talked about T. Higgins being out for the Bengals. Tyler Boyd is a good option here because he's going to see an uptick in targets. So I like Tyler Boyd. And, I kind of like KJ Hamler. This is a guy that's kind of come out of, I don't want to say nowhere, but he's kind of emerged to a place where I think you can trust him, from an offensive standpoint. So I'm going to go Boyd and Hamler, although Mooney is a close third. Adam, where do you fall here?
Boyd would definitely be my first choice as well, especially with the Higgins news that he's out. So Boyd's definitely number 1 for me. And then I think I would take Mooney. I took the upside there. Hamler has been pretty solid, as we talked about Bridgewater, but I really like Sutton and Fant in that game. So I'd take Tyler Boyd and Darnell Mooney here.
Yeah, it's close for me. Those two, they're pretty close in my rankings, but
definitely
Tyler Boyd is going to have a nice day today. He's been an undervalued fantasy asset for like 3 years in a row. Tyler Boyd is just as consistent as it gets. We had a question here from Michael Gunning. Well, it's actually not a question, but it's more of a statement. I'm tied for 3rd place overall, and I'm ready to steal secrets from Fantasy Football Goons. Is this a guy in your league, Adam?
I think I am aware of this guy. Yes, he is in my league. This is the CEH owner that he believes in CEH like no one else I've ever met.
It's funny you mentioned that. CEH will break out this week.
I believe he said that last week as well, and we saw where that got him was about 2.9 fantasy points.
And then this other
guy, Mike's a great guy, and he's playing hard, so we appreciate him in the league.
Yeah, and then your other buddy DJ McGrew, I got a guy in my league, and he about tuckered me the other day on a trade. I'm assuming he's talking about you, but
he's probably talking about Mike there.
And then DJ says, should I start CEH or Williams? For me, it's Williams without a doubt.
Without question, it's Tyson Williams in this game. You just can't trust the CEH usage, and Tyson Williams has seen just as much usage as CEH has, and even more in the passing game. So this is without question. I mean, it's the exact opposite scenarios there. You're talking about a pass-heavy offense that only wants to throw touchdowns versus an offense that wants to run the ball in every time they have the ball. So it's Tyson Williams.
You got a question from Rick Reese. Is CMC made of glass?
I don't think so. I mean, it feels like that right now, but he really didn't have much injury history until this last season. Until this happened, he had not missed much time. So it's just been really unlucky, I think, for CMC right now. And I mean, he's the best player in the NFL when he's healthy. So I don't feel that way at all. You got to hang on to CMC with confidence. He's going to return.
Yep. It's just, leg injuries are tough, and hopefully he can shake it and come back stronger. But let's dive back into our tight end starts of the week. And as we do that, chat, make sure you give us your questions. We're going to answer them live here on the air before we wrap the show, and then throughout the course of the show. So keep sending those questions. We are going to answer them. But first, let's take a look at Adam's tight end starts of the week. Adam, why don't you walk us through them?
All right, Joe. I love George Kittle this week. Again, he's kind of like the Saquon and Zeke statements I made earlier. You know, these guys are just total stud players, top 3 in their position, but they have not performed that way thus far. But I look for George Kittle to have a breakout game today versus Green Bay. I also like Jared Cook in what I hope to be a fairly high-scoring game versus Kansas City. The Chargers may have to, throw the ball a lot, trying to play catch up at late in the game or something. Jared Cook, he seems to be known for stealing that late fourth quarter touchdown, and killing your foot, especially when you're going against him. He always scores fourth quarter touchdown against you every time. So I like Jared Cook in that scenario. And I think this is the week the rookie Kyle Pitts has his first NFL touchdown and possibly a really big breakout game. And again, what I expect to be another high-scoring game versus versus the Giants. Atlanta versus the Giants. So I think Kyle Pitts, this is his breakout week.
I'm with you, man. I love that. Kyle Pitts, there's a reason they took him where they did, and it's only a matter of time before they start utilizing him like they should, because they got to win, and I'm sure that's part of the pathway to success.
That's what it comes down to. He's played well. It's just working him into the system and Matt Ryan using him properly. It's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's take a look at my tight end starts of the week. I love Noah Fant against the Jets today. You mentioned it earlier, Adam. He's a matchup nightmare for them. I look for him to have a huge day. And then we talked about the Rams against Tampa Bay. I think Tyler Higbee is going to be one of those guys that's really going to benefit from all the attention that's going to be paid to Cooper Kupp. Him and Robert Woods could really benefit from that. They're going to have to sling the ball if they want to win. And Tyler Higbee is that big red zone threat. So I wouldn't be shocked to see 2 touchdowns out of Higbee today. I mean, the kid's just a beast, and Matthew Stafford loves his tight end. So I expect him to score today at least once and hopefully twice. And then Dallas Goedert against the Cowboys on Monday night. Goddard has been a quality fantasy option since he became the lead dog. He's getting a lot of targets. And as we know, Dallas can't really cover anybody, let alone a freakishly tall, strong tight end. So all 3 of these guys, I think, are going to have at least 15 fantasy points. Call me crazy, but I think these 3 are solid plays. And I love your picks too. Tight end's not the wasteland it used to be, Adam. And
it's not at all.
To start the year, the first 2 weeks, it has. That changes starting today.
Yeah, I agree, man. There's so many more options this year that I feel comfortable going with. If you're in a pinch, in the last few years, you're looking at obviously the big 3, and then if you can find 5 or 6 guys, you feel all right throwing in. But this year, that number's grown a lot to 10 or 12 guys that I'm like, yeah, I'll throw him in there and feel confident I could get a touchdown today or 4 or 5 catches.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see what some of these guys can do. We got a weird question from Travis that we got to check out on. ESPN is weird. One league has Sermon on IR and one says he's playing. I can tell you for certain, Sermon is not on the IR. No. Jeff Wilson is on the IR, and he is going to be back in early November. And this is a quick tip for all you fantasy owners. Adam and I both strongly believe that Jeff Wilson will probably be one of the lead backs in that 49ers backfield when he returns. If you have an IR spot in your league, go snag Jeff Wilson and put him on your IR, because this is the guy that's going to be valuable. Mike Shanahan loves this guy, and he was really good last year when he was healthy. So Appreciate the call out here, Travis, but Sermon is definitely not on IR, and he is playing today.
He's the lead back today. We know that for 1 week at least.
Yes, for 1 week until Elijah Mitchell is okay to go next week. But Connor's got a question here. James Robertson, I think he meant to say James Robinson, or Trey Sermon. Man, I keep wanting to see it from James Robinson, but Urban Meyer apparently doesn't like him for whatever reason. I don't know. Trey Sermon is going to be the lead back today against the Green Bay team that hasn't been so great against the run. So I'd probably lean Sermon here. Adam, how about you?
Yeah, I would take Sermon in this one. Like you said, we know he's going to be the lead back. Robinson, yeah, I'm really wanting to see more out of him before I'm too comfortable playing him and anything more than a flex. And they got a pretty tough matchup versus Arizona defense that has not played too bad right now. We know they can get after the passer, so that could shake up Lawrence a little bit, and I think Sermon's a safer play there.
I would fully agree. And then let's see here. We got one from Nick in the chat. Mike Davis, Myles Gaskin, or Robert Woods for flex. It's a no-brainer here. I'm going Robert Woods, even with the half-point PPR, because he's probably going to score at least one touchdown today. Davis and Gaskin have both been massive letdowns, at least for me, to start the season. Hopefully they are rebound candidates here heading into week 3 of the season, but Robert Woods has got a finger-licking good matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm all in on Robert Woods. Adam, I know you like Bobby Trees as well.
Yeah, no way you can have Woods on your bench this week. He's 100% the choice here for me.
No doubt about that. And then we got one more here, and we're going to dive into the rest of our starts. Breck PF wants to know CEH, Miles Sanders, or Kenyon Drake PPR. Well, we talked about CEH. Neither of us have any love for CEH. He's been a massive letdown. I'm not starting him. Kenyon Drake, has been hit or miss for the Raiders. Don't love the matchup for him this week. Miles Sanders, for me, is the guy to go with here with that dynamite matchup against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night on primetime. Miles Sanders always seems to show up in primetime games, Adam. I feel like Miles Sanders is the play here. What do you think?
Yeah, you nailed it on that one, Joe. It's for sure Miles Sanders here. As I said, we can't trust CEH until something changes in that offense. He's just on the bench unless you just have no other option. And Kenyon Drake is inconsistent in the Raiders offense. Again, they don't like the matchup. I like Miles Sanders in the higher scoring affair that's expected, and he can break big runs. We've seen him. He has some of the highest total of big runs in the whole NFL over the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's just all around explosive. And Nick says thanks. Absolutely, Nick. We appreciate you tuning in and joining
Thanks
us.
for the question, Nick.
And chat room, make sure to get us all your questions. We are going to give our sits of the week and our starts. Our sits of the week and then our sleepers of the week here. Travis giving me a little dig here. You're not starting James O'Shaughnessy, LOL. To be fair, he had a great start to the game and then he got injured. Okay. James O'Shaughnessy will be a quality option when he's out there healthy. He got banged up early in that game and did not return. So Travis, I will take accountability for his injury, but James O'Shaughnessy will be a flyer tight end all season long. But I'm not starting him today. You're right. I'm not starting him. So I apologize. But
I believe they put him on IR.
Did they officially put him on IR? Jeez,
I believe so.
missed that. Great.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I get for suggesting someone to be started as a sleeper. But anyway,
I mean, with IR, that could only be 3 weeks now, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's a very broad definition of IR.
Yeah,
he's a guy you could stash, but I think I wouldn't waste a roster spot for now. But as I mentioned, we are going to go through our sits of the week and our sleepers of the week, but not before we take a quick commercial break from our Barroom Network sponsors. So we will see you guys right back here in about 2 minutes. So see you in a second for more Fantasy Football Goon.
War Room Network presents two fired up Bears fans. They are ready to rumble on the Bear Debate.
And we are back to Fantasy Football Goon. Adam and I are going to walk through our sits of the week and then our sleepers of the week. So, Adam, let's do it. Adam, let's get into your sits of the week. And it's a guy we were just talking about.
Yeah, the number one guy everybody's been talking about this week. I know in my league, in your league, I think in leagues all across the country, CEH is the number one sit of the week. Who knows? Maybe the guy will go out there and surprise us, and then everybody will feel better going forward. But until it happens, he's got to be on the bench. They just do not utilize him like they should. He had 0 targets last week in the passing game. When they finally do get down inside the 10-yard line and decide to run the ball, he comes off the field. Darrell Williams comes in the game. Happens every time. It's like until you see him back there inside the 10 and them actually running the ball, he's not in my lineup. And another guy that I had last week as a sit of the week, unfortunately, again, is Corey Davis. He's drawing a really tough schedule and matchups right now, coming off the Patriots last week, where Belichick just knows how to destroy a rookie quarterback. And we saw, 4 or 5 interceptions last week from Wilson. And it's not getting any easier this week versus Vic Fangio defense in Denver with the corners they have. Kyle Fuller's out there now. Corey Davis is going to be the main objective of Denver shutting down out there. So they're going to be coming after Wilson. Another one I got a little bit under the radar. I think DJ Chark, somebody I wouldn't want in my lineup this week either. Versus, I think Arizona's going to run away with this game, and Trevor Lawrence is going to be rattled with the pass rush coming from Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. Arizona's defense has really played pretty well so far. I don't want any Jacksonville receivers in my lineup, and I'm sitting Chark this week.
I love it. Yeah, I'm avoiding Jacksonville right now. For an offense that I thought was going to be so explosive this offseason, they really have fizzled from the start. It makes you wonder if Urban Meyer has got something to do with that. But
Marvin Jones has played well.
That's true. Marvin Jones has played well, and he's probably the only startable player right now. Some people have to start James Robinson out of desperation, but I don't know what's going on down there for sure. It's been an interesting one.
No doubt.
Thanks, Travis. Sorry. Travis poking fun at me still, but let's see. Oh, yes, my sits of the week, Adam. Let's take a quick look here. I'm going to take Sony Michel on the bench against Tampa Bay.
I love it.
Tampa's been so good against the run all year. There's no Darrell Henderson, so everyone's like, "Oh, I'm going to plug Sony Michel in. This is his week to, go crazy." Temper your expectations because, while I think you might see a Sony Michel goal line touchdown today, I really don't think you're going to see much of anything else. While he's probably the best running back in LA, I just don't think you're going to get many points from him today. They've shut down everybody. I mean, look how much they shut down, Dallas, their run game in the opener. It's just been consistently good against the run. So avoid Sony Michel in all formats. Odell Beckham Jr. making his season debut, at least expected to, against the Bears today. I'm telling you guys, do not start Odell in his first time out. I can't imagine he's going to be a full go. He's probably not. He's probably going to be more of a decoy than anything. You've seen Odell do that a lot in his career when he comes back from injury. So I'm sitting Odell against the Bears. And then another guy, Adam, that we've been talking about who's been a massive disappointment to start the year is Mike Gesicki. He has not been good at all for the Dolphins. They get a tough matchup against Las Vegas, and Gesicki continues to be the odd man out in Miami. Don't know what's going on down there, but I'm avoiding him in all formats. What's going on with Mike Gesicki, Adam? Something's happening down there in Miami.
Yeah, I don't know. He's not getting the usage we've seen the last season or two out of him. And now with Tua going on IR now this week, that it went from Tua's his ribs aren't broken to now there's fractured ribs. Now there's multiple fractured ribs. Now we're going to go ahead and put him on IR for 3 weeks, but we expect him back. So let's wait and see. I mean, I have actually a fair amount of confidence in Brissett playing, but until we start seeing it, Gesicki's being dropped in a lot of leagues right now because the usage just isn't there, and he's not getting what he was expected to have in the last couple of seasons. What we've seen, he was getting 8-9 targets a game last year, and that's not happening anymore. So until then, I 100% agree with sitting him.
Yeah, he's been one of the biggest disappointments to start the year. People thought they were getting a quality tight end when they grabbed him, and it's been anything but that to start the year. We got a question here from DJ McGrew. Do you buy or sell on Justin Fields? Will Dalton come back, or is Fields the guy? Well, I think part of it is a big factor on what we see today on the field, but a full week of Fields practicing with the starter team, I think they're going to be prepared for this game, and I think you're going to see something you haven't seen from a Chicago Bears quarterback in a while. So my personal opinion is that Dalton will not be the starter when he returns, but I could completely be wrong. Adam, how do you feel about Justin Fields?
Well, I can't be more excited to see how this goes, and I do think it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road starting out. I don't think it's because of Justin Fields. I think it's because of our head coaching, Matt Nagy. I'm buying him as far as fantasy goes. I'd buy him now because I think, the way he's going to utilize his legs as well as the passing game, he's going to be viable moving forward. I wouldn't have him in my lineup right away, but, they're saying this morning Andy Dalton's going to be out for possibly a couple more weeks, which I think we all expected. They're acting like that's news, but Justin Fields,
yeah,
I don't see how you can take him off the field, because I think the team is going to rally around him and they're going to want him on the field. I don't think Nagy's going to be able to take him back out, though I wouldn't put it past him to try. But Nagy's thing is he says Fields isn't ready, but I don't know if anyone saw Rex Ryan this morning on TV. But, he was on there saying, if he's not ready, that's on you, Matt Nagy. He's like, I had Mark Sanchez ready, and you're telling me you can't have Justin Fields ready? And I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah, it's a great assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Mark Sanchez was out there and went to, back-to-back AFC championships, I believe. And, I think Justin Fields is the guy going forward. I think he's going to have a little bit of a bumpy road, maybe versus tough defense today in Cleveland. But going forward, he's the guy. He's the Bears guy, and I hope this is the one time Bears fans don't overreact to a quarterback's bad game or something.
Yeah, I would buy him in fantasy. I'm with Adam. I think his legs are going to do the talking. You're going to see. I could easily see him rushing for like 70 to 80 yards today, no problem.
For sure.
And that's the floor. I could see it going way higher than that. So let's see what he does today. But I'm excited to see it. But Adam, let's get into our sleepers of the week. I'm going to start with mine this time. We're just talking about the Bears. I think Darnell Mooney is a great sleeper play today against the Cleveland Browns. You know, he's starting to get a good relationship with Justin Fields. You know, Mooney's, I could see him getting deep and Justin just letting one fly and Darnell Mooney taking it like 80 yards to the house. So Mooney could have a big boom or bust day, but I think, from a sleeper aspect, Mooney could be a great start. I'm putting Tony Pollard on this list, even though he's a top talent in this league. He just happens to be the second best running back on his team for the Cowboys. Going up against Philadelphia, I think they're going to utilize him, as we talked about earlier, Adam. He's going to have a role in that offense, and I think Tony Pollard's going to score a touchdown on Monday night. So Tony Pollard, great sleeper play for me. And I'm going to go with another Bear we just talked about, Justin Fields. I think it could be a big day for him, if all the cards fall the right way. I think he's going to go over. I really do think he's going to go over 100 yards rushing today, score 2 touchdowns with his legs, and throw 2 touchdown passes, enough to get the Bears a win and a big fantasy day in the books. So, it's a little prediction there, but I'm saying 4 total TDs for Justin, 2 with the legs, 2 with his arm. If that happens, Bears Nation's going to be very happy. I could totally look like a clown with this prediction, Adam, but I'm hoping it's the latter.
Yeah, I love it, man. If we got 2 touchdowns throwing, 2 touchdowns rushing, it would be Bears fans' dream come true, man. So I'm all with you, and I could see it happening. You just never know, but look, I can't wait to find out today. For my sleepers though, I got 3 guys here. The first one I've got this guy. He seems to be sleeping. I think a lot of fantasy world is sleeping on this guy and doesn't realize James White has been extremely good so far the first couple of weeks. So I've got him as my first sleeper versus New Orleans today. We know New Orleans has a very strong front defense. I could easily see Mac dropping the ball off James White quite a few times today. He's caught 6 passes in both of the first 2 games, and he has a rushing touchdown. And, this guy just does it every year for the Patriots and never gets any respect. So James White's definitely a sleeper today for me. Another one is the rookie Michael Carter. Really came along last week. They got him quite a bit more involved. He went from 4 carries in week 1 to 11 carries in week 2 and was extremely efficient with it at over 5, I think close to 6 yards per carry on those. And I think they could get him even more involved this week in the mix, and he could start breaking out this week. Maybe not a monster game, but he could definitely start showing the potential we had drafting him early in the season. So the other guy is this third wide receiver out in Minnesota, KJ Osborne. And this guy is tearing it up out there so far through 2 weeks. We're talking 15 targets with 12 catches on those, a touchdown. He's one of the league leaders in yardage, I believe. This guy, Justin Jefferson is drawing the most attention, and then you got Thielen in the red zone taking the other side of the field, and Osborne's just freed up, and Kirk Cousins seems to be finding him. So I would keep plugging him in as a flex if you need it. And versus Seattle, like I said, I think the other guys are going to draw the attention, and he could eat again this week.
I think he is going to eat. That's going to be a shootout in Seattle and Minnesota. I feel like every single game Minnesota plays in, they just have to keep up offensively because their defense can't stop anybody. But I love all 3 of these guys. James White gets absolutely no respect in fantasy. I totally agree with you, Adam. And I think he's going to have another good day here. New Orleans got demolished last week, so they're going to come out probably fired up, but I still think James White will have a good day.
I agree.
And chat room, don't hesitate to get your questions to us. We got 5 minutes or so left in the show before we get out of here. But I'm going to look through the inactives list right now. And as we do that, make sure you send us questions here in the chat room. We're going to answer them. Full inactive lists out. And there's a big one on the Pittsburgh defense today, Adam. TJ Watt inactive for them. That's a big shot for the Steelers. So their secondary has not been great to start the year, but there's some big names missing in Pittsburgh today. No Deontay Johnson, no TJ Watt.
Yeah, that changes quite a bit with TJ Watt out.
So I like the Bengals a lot better now in this game.
I do too, but that question
Tyler
earlier.
Boyd.
Yeah, the question earlier about Tyler Boyd and them, or Jamar Chase as well. We said, sure, they might see more targets, but that also leaves fewer of the high-end guys for the defense to hone in on. But without the pass rush and so much heat on Joe Burrow, that could work out now for Chase and Boyd even better. We know Boyd has a safe floor, but Chase may really get an uptick now.
Yep, yeah, I like Chase as well. So yeah,
I would still play Julio over Chase though.
Yeah, I would still play Julio over Chase as well. Looking through the rest of the injury reports that are coming out, nothing major that I'm seeing right now. Chris Harris inactive for the Chargers today at corner, but they're pretty stacked everywhere else.
Yeah.
Going into the Giants-Falcons game, Russell Gage inactive for the Falcons today. So, as you mentioned, that adds. Far. Yeah, he has been, but that adds a little bit more steam to your, Kyle Pitts pick for today without
Absolutely.
Gage on the field. So I love that. Inactives are out for the Bears game. Eddie Goldman again. Brashad Perriman's inactive. So is Jesper Horsted, and of course Andy Dalton. No really big names out for the Browns today. Odell Beckham Jr. is active in this game, so Odell will make his debut today. As I mentioned, be cautious with him. I don't expect him to do much today. I have him on my sit list, but it's something to keep an eye on.
Another sleeper in that game could be Austin Hooper.
Yeah, Austin Hooper as well has shown good hands, and they paid him some big bucks. So look for him to get involved as well.
Jarvis Landry's still out, so.
Yep, and there are some more inactives for the Bucs game later this afternoon. We knew Antonio Brown was on the COVID list, but he is officially inactive for this game, as is Jason Pierre-Paul for the Tampa Bay defense. So, as we know, the defense, the run D has been good, but look for the pass D to continue to allow big plays. And Chris Godwin gets an uptick without Antonio Brown on the field. Same thing with Mike Evans.
Yeah, those guys should both have a really good game with Antonio Brown out. I mean, we know every week those receivers all get their fair share of targets generally. With one of them out, it really makes the floor a little more solid, especially with Mike Evans, the way he can go up and down sometimes. But with Antonio Brown out, that makes a big difference for them. And on the other side of that, though, one that you mentioned earlier is the sit of the week, the Sony Michel. That's just an unfortunate matchup right there for Rams and timing-wise with Henderson being out and then Sony basically taking his first start for them against a really tough run defense. I don't see that ending well. I really hope for the scenario, like you said, he could get a goal line touchdown, get lucky somehow. I think that's the only way fantasy managers are gonna get lucky with Sony this week. And unfortunately, I'm having to play him in our guillotine league, so
Ooh.
I really could use that this week. Yeah, it's got me staring at the blade, I'm afraid, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, I got 1 point out of Robbie Anderson in guillotine, so I'm just hoping my other guys can bail me out. We'll see. But we do have some more questions that are flowing in here. Kicks for Mike. Flex PPR, Tyson or Juju? I think you got to go
That's
Tyson Williams.
I would go Tyson Williams too. Like we talked about, he's just going to see it's a great matchup, and I think he's going to get some passing work as well as good 10, 12 carries probably at minimum. So I would take that Tyson Williams in the flex.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. And let's see here. We got another trust question here from Caesar. Do you think Harris from New England has a game today? I've been impressed with what I've seen out of Damian Harris. They're using him on the ground more than they are with the pass. James White, as we talked about, has been kind of taking that role. But I do think you can start Harris as a flex. I think he's an impressive player. And I'm more impressed from what I've seen from the New England backfield than I thought I would be. Where do you fall with Damian Harris, Matt? I can't even. I know your name's Adam. I'm looking in the chat room. What do you think?
I love what I've seen out of Damian Harris so far. He's been really impressive, and he's a really good running back, and he fits the New England offense pretty well. Saints have a pretty tough front defense there, so I don't expect him to have quite as good of a game as he has, but he could get in the end zone inside the goal line or inside the 5. I mean, and he's hard to keep out of your lineup. I like him more as a flex or low end RB2 this week than the normal high end RB2 I would consider him being.
I am fully aligned with you there, Adam. Travis wants to know, do we have a flex spot for Henry Ruggs or Mooney? Jeez.
It's a tough call. Very similar type players. I think I would take Mooney he's been getting consistent target share through 2 weeks, and I think the Bears know they need that. So even with the quarterback change, I think I would go Mooney there.
Yeah, I would expect Mooney to see more volume than Ruggs. Ruggs has been the deep ball guy, and let me pull it up because I'm fairly certain Ruggs' targets have been way down.
I think they have been. He had a really good game last week, but it depends on 1 or 2 big plays generally. Mooney's been seeing quite a few targets.
Yeah, so in the first week of the season, you only saw 5 targets for Ruggs, and he had 2 catches. Last week, he saw a bit of an uptick. He had 7 targets last week. So if he continues that, I would go with Ruggs, but let me look at Mooney's target share. It's going to be a little different because we have Fields on the field. But the last couple games, Darnell Mooney has been averaging 7 targets a game. So, and he had 8 last week against Cincinnati. So I'm going to go with Mooney because I think he's going to get more targets. There's a lot more mouths to feed in Las Vegas than there are in Chicago. So I'm going to go with Mooney against Cleveland. So I'm with you. I think it's a great start, and that's what I'm excited about. And Caesar's got one more question. Chat room, make sure you get us your questions here. We are getting ready to wrap here before roughly the next 2-3 minutes. We're going to get out of here and get you guys ready for kickoff so you can watch the starts of these games. But we had a question here from Caesar. Jets running backs, are they worth rostering? Adam, you talked a little bit about this earlier. Why don't you talk a little about Michael Carter?
Yeah, to me, Michael Carter is the only one I think is worth rostering right now. And like you said, he's not a must start or anything like that. But, if you're desperate for a flex player, you've been hit by the injury bug with Henderson or something like that, he could get in there. But, I mostly right now he's a stash for kind of a second half season type of guy. But he's worth putting there and hanging on to right now, I think, because they drafted him with a fairly high draft capital, 3rd round possibly, I think. And, they're going to use him at some point. And let's face it, Tevin Coleman's not keeping him off the field for long. That's for sure. And I believe Ty Johnson's the other guy there, and he looks all right sometimes. But they drafted this kid to be the guy, and we saw his carries almost triple from week 1 to week 2, and he looked very efficient doing it. So I would definitely stash Carter for right now.
Yeah, I would agree. He's a good stash on your bench because he could have more value when he gets more carries. We got a great question here from Mike Honcho. I need help in PPR. Should I play Fuller or Rondale Moore? So we talked a lot about this earlier. I think Rondale Moore is a must-start moving forward. He leads that Arizona team in targets. So I'm going with Rondale Moore here. Adam, where do you land?
Yeah, well, first off, I love the name Mike Honcho here. Appreciate the question. This one's without a doubt Rondale Moore to me. There's no way I'm putting Will Fuller in my lineup his first week back. We got Tua's out. Will Fuller's just coming into the offense first time this season. Rondale Moore's leading the Cardinals in targets, and they're they're the most high octane offense besides the Chiefs probably right now. So Rondale Moore, 100%.
Yeah, look for him to have a big day. Arizona could be one of the best teams in football if they finally their defense looks good, their offense looks amazing. I love what they're doing down there. Kyler Murray, that whole offense. J.J. Watt in the mix. Exciting stuff down there in Arizona.
Right.
Mike says, "Thanks, bros. Absolutely, man. Always happy to help. We're here every single Sunday." Yeah, we're here every Sunday around 10:15 Central Time. We go until about 11:30-ish, and we're going to answer all your questions before kickoff. And we're also available on Twitter. Make sure our tags are next to our names. I'm at Joe Mandel. Adam's at Papa Bear 816. And then you could also follow at FFB Goon, and we're going to answer all your questions all season long if we're not live on the air, but we'll also do it live on the show every Sunday morning. So we are here for you guys all season long. Kicks for Mike says he's expecting a bounce back game from Waller and JT. Yeah, I would definitely imagine that's going to be the case as well. And he makes a good point. Mixon as well, with no TJ Watt, opening things up for him, and DK Metcalf as well. So
I like DK Metcalf a lot.
Yeah, me too. I think you're going to see a lot of points in that game, Seattle, Minnesota. I tell you what, there's going to be, for everything that last week was with the lack of fantasy points, I think it's going to be the flip side this week. I think you're going to just see fantasy points everywhere. There's not a lot of defense in this league, and this week I think everyone's going to start to get comfortable now that they're officially, out of preseason mode, because there was that extra game this year. Everyone's kind of shook that rust off. They got some WD-40 on their joints. They're ready to rock and roll. And the season quickly approaching. Yeah, as Kicks for Mike mentions, I had 89 points last week. Yeah, I think a lot of us did. There's a lot of teams that really underperformed just because, fantasy projection, there's only a few guys that really went off. Some guys, I think Derrick Henry had more points last week than probably 40 guys combined,
Yeah.
So it's all about who you get. Oh, and he's in an 8-man league. Yeah. That's just unlucky.
Wow.
You can't. Sometimes it's about the luck of the draw, but I think you're going to have better luck this week, Mike. We're here to help you out. But we've made it all the way towards the tail end of our show. If you have a last-minute question, you can get it into us, and we will answer it. But we have about 2 minutes before we log out at 11:30. Mike says he had Dak, Hill, DK, Waller, and Swift. Yeah, that's bad luck. We'll call it bad luck. His kicker had the most points.
Yeah, it was a rough week all around last week, and that's what this week the matchups just seem to favor an explosion happening this week for points. When you look at all these games, you look at all the players we talked about, and it's like this looks like a shootout. This looks like a shootout. This looks like a shootout. It's like the matchups are here. Like you said, everybody's kind of out of the preseason mode and getting comfortable in their offenses. And, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of points this week.
Yeah, we got one solid, tough question from Connor Gorzicki. Sorry, I can't talk. Tyson Williams or Antonio Gibson? Man, if I'm going by my rankings, I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson because I'm just waiting for him to have that moment where he just breaks out. He does have a tough matchup though. I believe they're playing Buffalo. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I think that's let me pull up my rankings.
Yeah, it is versus Buffalo.
Yeah, so that makes it a little tough. If I'm looking at my running back rankings, I have Gibson ranked 13th. And Tyson Williams ranked 19th. It's probably a little bit closer than that now, but I'm still going to go Gibson because he doesn't have a vulture really to score the touchdowns. Sort of McKissick, but he's more of a hurry-up offense guy as opposed to Latavius Murray, who could just randomly come in and take away a snap. So I'm going to take Gibson here, but not by a lot. Adam, how do you feel about this one? This is a tough question.
It is a pretty tough question, and especially as much as we've touted Tyson Williams in the last hour, but I can't bench Antonio Gibson for him. Antonio Gibson would be in my lineup. The potential there and what we expect still going forward out of Antonio Gibson is too high. Even against a tough Bills defense, it's very, very reasonable that he could get 2 goal line touchdowns in this game. A lot of people got worried about that McKissick touchdown last week, but that was just a scenario situation where they were in the 2-minute drill running, wanted to keep the defense on its heels, didn't want to switch players out. So run up there, give him the ball, and it was a wide open touchdown. That 9 times out of 10, that's going to be Antonio Gibson's job right there and get that carry. And I just can't keep him out of my lineup right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you got to go Gibson. It's a good problem to have Tyson Williams on your bench. Let's just put it that way.
Definitely.
It's nice to have that depth on your team. And if he has a big day, then he's just better trade value as well. So things to keep in mind. I like Gibson, though. Mike thanks us for the advice. He said, let's all get W's today. I'm completely aligned with that. And that's what we're here to do with you every single week. A reminder to tune in after the Bears game today for Bear football. Aldo Gandia and Dan Aguirre are at the game today, and they're going to be joining John Buffone and Tyler Ellis after the game for the post-game show. It's usually right after, but today it's going to be 2 hours after the game to let those guys get back to the hotel. But that's going to be a great show. They're going to be breaking down the game 2 hours after the Bears games. Yeah, it's going to be incredible. So make sure you tune in for that. And then, of course, Monday night here on the Barroom, you have South Burbs Hitmen, which I'll be leading, talking about the White Sox, the AL Central champions, getting ready for that playoff run. I believe we have the Friendly Confines as well to talk about the other side of town. So that's a great show. And then Tuesday this week, of course, you got Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls. You've got Bar Down Blackhawks, Crosstown Crosstalk, the Mike North Advantage. Greg Gabriel, the former scouting director for the Bears, has a show on our network talking about Bears football all season long. And there's just so much content on our network. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, head over to YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at Barroom Network. And then you can follow us as well at FFB Goon, at Joe Mandel, at Papa Bear 816. Of course, we have a Facebook page, Fantasy Football Goon, and we also have an Instagram. Give us a follow there as well. And as always, we appreciate you guys for joining us on Fantasy Football Goon. Before we get out of here, I'll toss it over to Adam. Adam, any shout-outs or last-minute things you want to mention before we head into Sunday football?
I just want to say thank you to everybody that participated in the chat there, that brought in questions today. That was a lot of fun. I always enjoy answering questions. Shout out to all my brothers in the Monsters of the Midway Fantasy Football League for their questions this morning. Appreciate all you guys tuning in and supporting the show. And I can't wait for Justin Fields Day today. I'm just excited to see how this goes. And, everybody just stay calm regardless of whether it goes good or bad. Let's not blow our heads one way or the other. Let's just give it some time and be excited that we've got what looks like a really solid future ahead. So I can't wait to see how today goes for the Bears.
Absolutely, man. I'm completely aligned there. And, I'm going to, in terms of shout outs, I'm going to give a shout out to Aldo and Dan Aguirre, who are at the Bears game, providing great coverage for the network and hopefully seeing a Justin Fields first career start and victory. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to my wife, Catherine, and my dog, Maverick. I love you both. And my little baby girl who's on the way. And last but not least, a huge thank you to everyone in the chat room for tuning in all day, asking questions, and anyone who reaches out to us on social media. We appreciate the support. You can head over to deepdishtees.com/barroom and you can check out some Bears, some Ballroom Network swag. Whether it's a fantasy football goon, you can get a shirt, a hoodie. South Burbs Hitmen, you can get a hat. Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls. All the great shows on our network. You could help support us in what we do. So if you could do that, we would greatly appreciate it, whether it's a sticker or a hat or a shirt. We appreciate anything that you can give to help keep us doing what we love to do. So thank you for that. And then, Adam, thanks to you, brother. I appreciate you doing the show with me every single Sunday. It's an absolute blast. And I love talking fantasy football with you, whether it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Every day of the week, it makes it a lot of fun. So thank you. I really appreciate you. And with that said,
thank you.
No problem, man. And with that said, go win your fantasy matchups today. We're going to be answering questions on social media up till kickoff, so don't hesitate to reach out. But for Fantasy Football Goon, I'm Joe Mandel. That's Adam Schaum. God bless America. God bless football. And go kick some ass. We'll see you guys next Sunday.